This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
Oil prices jumped on Friday and settled 7% higher as Israel and Iran traded airstrikes, feeding investor worries that the combat could widely disrupt oil exports from the Middle East. Brent crude futures settled at $74.23 a barrel, up $4.87, or 7.02%, after earlier soaring over 13% to an intraday high of $78.50, the strongest level since January 27. Brent was 12.5% higher than a week ago. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude finished at $72.98 a barrel, up $4.94, or 7.62%. During the session, WTI jumped over 14% to its highest since January 21 at $77.62. WTI climbed 13% to its level a week ago.
U.S. ultra-low sulfur diesel futures hit the highest level since February, outpacing gains in oil and gasoline as analysts warn that diesel supply is the most exposed to the conflict in the Middle East. Israel on Friday launched the biggest ever direct attack on Iran and said the huge wave of airstrikes was only the start of its campaign. Iran has since launched retaliatory strikes, with explosions heard over Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Crude oil futures jumped about 7% as analysts worried Iran's response could include a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of global oil supplies traverses. Diesel futures jumped even more, surging about 8% for their biggest single-day gain since April 2022.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
The West's energy watchdog said on Friday it was ready to release oil stocks should the market experience shortages following Israel's attack on Iran, drawing criticism from rival OPEC, which said the statement would only create fear in the market. The International Energy Agency, representing oil consumers, and the OPEC, representing some of the world's top oil producers, have in recent years clashed on global oil demand trajectories and the pace of the energy transition. The IEA's head Fatih Birol said that while the oil market was well supplied, the agency would be ready to act if needed, adding that the agency's oil security system held 1.2 billion barrels of oil in strategic and emergency reserves.
President Donald Trump's administration on Friday proposed to increase the amount of biofuels that oil refiners must blend into the nation's fuel mix over the next 2 years, driven by a surge in biomass-based diesel mandates. After months of lobbying on the issue, the biofuels industry welcomed the move, which also included measures to discourage biofuel imports. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency proposed total biofuel blending volumes at 24.02 billion gallons in 2026 and 24.46 billion gallons in 2027, up from 22.33 billion gallons in 2025. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Prices of copper and other industrial metals fell on Friday, weighed down by a stronger dollar as investors sold risky assets after Israel attacked Iran. Benchmark 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange shed 0.5% to $9,653 a metric ton by 1600 GMT after touching $9,532, the weakest since June 3. The dollar index climbed and world stock markets tumbled after Israel launched a large-scale military strike on Iran. A firmer dollar makes commodities priced in the U.S. currency more expensive for buyers using other currencies.
India has asked state-run miner IREL to suspend a 13-year-old agreement on rare earth exports to Japan and to safeguard supplies for domestic needs, two sources familiar with the matter told Reuters, aiming to reduce India's dependence on China. IREL also wants to develop India's capacity for rare earth processing, which is dominated globally by China and has become a weapon in escalating trade wars. China has curbed its rare earth materials exports since April, pressuring automakers and high-tech manufacturers worldwide. In a recent meeting with auto and other industry executives, Indian Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal asked IREL to stop its exports of rare earths, mainly neodymium, a key material used in magnets for electric vehicle motors, one of the sources said.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
U.S. soyoil futures surged their daily limit on Friday and soybeans hit a 3-week high after President Donald Trump's administration proposed biofuel blending requirements that were above trade expectations, analysts said. Chicago Board of Trade corn futures followed soybeans higher and CBOT wheat rose about 3%, but still ended lower on a weekly basis. CBOT July soybeans settled up 27-1/2 cents at $10.69 -3/4 per bushel. July soyoil settled up 3 cents, its maximum daily limit, at 50.61 cents per pound, and traders said the contract was priced synthetically, through options, about 0.5 cent higher at the close.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.